Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is more Star Wars Battlefront 2. We're playing Galactic Assault on the map Endor, and I just tried to buff just then, and I accidentally used my disruptor instead. That happens to me occasionally. Don't really know why that is. Pressing two buttons at the same time is not the hardest thing on the planet, but every so often the game kind of eats the input and bums me in the mouth. But this is Endor, and I don't know how much gameplay of Endor I've shared, but at the very beginning there is an incredibly popular choke point, and it's this first objective here. In my opinion, the best way of getting this when you are attacking is to go over the roof, drop down via the back, and come in behind them all. Because if you have a team that love whoring these checkpoints just here, you can get behind them and kill a ton of people and help your team push through. But on this particular gameplay, I'm experimenting with a star card called Officer's Presence. So being in a choke point with people getting injured and people pushing and continually getting damaged and trying to have a little bit of a tug of war here, a nice little war of attrition, as I get supercharged sentry. Did you see that just then? I was shooting that guy with my gun and I'm assuming it was hitting the wall because I wasn't doing any damage and he melted me. Stuff like that's always frustrating in this game, but we got the objective somehow. That's 1,000 points with the multiplication just then. But you'll notice I'm kind of sticking in the back here. I'm not making too many pushes. And do you see my battle points going up? That's what Officer's Presence does. It's a very good passive tool and it helps the teammates that are near you. I do this every so often when I don't feel like being the guy who has to make all the elite plays. And as I mentioned, I was experimenting at the time with this officer's card, and I can report back that it's fantastic. But what's going to happen in this gameplay is I'm going to be able to get a hero very quickly thanks to this card, and I'm going to be picking a new hero that I don't normally use. So I recently made a video saying, getting heroes early and the implications of what happens. And sometimes it can be better, not to choose a hero that you're not very good with until you've got a couple of games under your belt, or you've practiced in arcade mode, or you've understood what your job is when you pick that hero. So in this video, I'm going to pick Lando Calrissian, and I really like this character, but I didn't quite understand how to use him best at this moment in time, but I'm still going to make a pretty decent attempt at it. So hopefully you can see me kind of learning Lando, as well as maybe a different way of playing on this particular map. So Endor is a map that has two variants of its night and day cycles. If it's daytime, this map is very foggy. If it's nighttime, it's quite dark. This is one of the levels where using the night scopes is a fantastic benefit to you as a player. I'm never going to do that though because I hate those scopes. But Lando, you see, Lando has a built-in thermal signature on his secondary fire. So when you aim with the left trigger, he has a thermal scope, but it doesn't zoom, so it doesn't get rid of your depth perception and your periphery. So you can see it here. I'm tempted to go as Rey, because I've been playing around as kind of a support Rey, and helping people with the wall hacks. Because I'm not a big fan of using the lightsaber characters, because I feel like you have to play far too intelligently, and getting a reward from them can be a lot more difficult than it is using a blaster hero, because I like to shoot stuff. That being said, Rey's amazing, and if you use her correctly, there's almost no reason to die. But Lando Calrissian is a beast, but he has one glaring problem. And if you don't know what that is, look down at the bottom of the screen in the center. So Lando does not have any kind of healing star card or any kind of healing ability, which means that anything can damage him, and if it damages him for over 150 damage, it's going to be permanent damage, and there's nothing you can do. All you can kind of do is stay out of trouble and hope you don't get tagged by random grenades or a random vanguard. But do you see what I'm doing here? I'm throwing his smoke grenade, and then from there I'm using his thermal to shoot through it to hit these people. That's not as foolproof as you'd think. The smoke can be good for causing chaos, but there's a fundamental design flaw between DICE's way of making multiplayer and the idea of a smoke screen, and you saw it just then. Whenever you aim your gun, you get this wonderful red icon above people's heads, and it can be seen through smoke, and I have no idea why that's a thing. When you throw smoke, you shouldn't be able to see that icon, because all people do is shoot at the fucking icon. They can't see anything, shoot at the icon. It's very simple, right? So Lando's ability with his smoke is almost null and void. I just use it to be an arsehole, basically, and frustrate people. But I'm using the sharp shot incorrectly here as well. I'm not letting it proc for long enough to get as many targets as possible. because I didn't quite understand just how bloody good it was. This is high noon up the arsehole is what this ability is, and if you use it correctly, you can do an incredible amount of damage, but I'm just not doing it at the moment. I'm kind of leading with my gun, I'm playing Lando as if he's Leia, and you shouldn't really do that, because Lando's gun is not very good. It has a lot of vertical recoil, it overheats very quickly, and it's only the headshot damage that I think is all that interesting. Everything else doesn't feel that spectacular, but headshots are terrific. But did you see that just then? That is the sharp shot skill. That is the center ability that's cooling down right now. And there's a star card that I really want to get to make it better. One of the star cards for Lando is if you hit 3 people with that ability, it will cool down much quicker and you can use it again. And that's exactly what you should have on this character, because that's how you want to play Lando. You want to play Lando as a guy who's literally using sharp shot and then occasionally peppering people, and then if a hero comes close, you use your disabler to stun them, and then you fuck them in the mouth and shoot them in the head and kill them. And that's how he works. Lando has 2 incredible abilities. The first one is the sharp shot that lets you hit people at ridiculous distances using an aimbot, and then the second one is you can stun heroes and you can kill them when they can't attack you back. He has a third bonus to him as well, which is what I'm using on this map, which is I can see people in the dark and they can't see me quite as well, and that's going to help me stay alive, it's going to help me attack, and it's going to help me understand just how powerful that move I just did was. Did you see the range on that fucking move? It's insane! So if you know how to use Lando and you play aggressive with him, you can get 4 to 5 to 6 people in one sharp shot if you do it correctly. But there's one thing you need to bear in mind with a night scope, and you witnessed it just then, is I can't shoot this man at all because my aim is terrible. You can't quite tell if people are through geometry, which makes it difficult to understand if you can shoot them or not. And I completely messed up just then and didn't quite get my ability. But of course, you need to be careful of the ATSTs. Both the ATSTs and the speeder bikes are a legitimate threat against Lando, because once again, he doesn't have that good of survivability. And it's an interesting discussion that we should probably talk about. Look at that. You see that? How ridiculous is that? And look at it recharging. It recharges really quickly, and I don't even have the faster recharge. That was cool by me. Using the smoke screen to kind of give me some kind of immunity to get away. I like the idea of that. Do you know what I like the idea of more? I think the smoke screen should heal Lando, like the Dioxys heals Bosk. I think that would be nice. It doesn't have to heal him, you know, to full. It could just give him potentially like a little bit back. Like moderate it so it's not broken, but it gives him a fighting chance. Because as it stands, I think Lando is very close to being a very capable hero. Which leads me to the discussion that I want to have for this video. So, you know, I know, everybody knows that there are characters in this game that have cards that let them heal. Cards that let them get healing by killing troopers and healing by killing heroes. And depending on how you upgrade those cards, depends on how much you get when you kill things. It gives them an almost night and day benefit from picking any other hero, because you know their survivability is guaranteed if you can kill people. And if you're playing as a hero, chances are you can kill people because you've earned it, and every time you bump into a trooper, you have an advantage. You have a 100% advantage. It's just the game balance, is how the game works. So why would you ever pick anybody other than Leia, Bosk, Rey, Vader, so on and so forth, right? Characters who can heal. Characters who can get their life back. Characters who, if played correctly, cannot be killed. There's no incentive to pick anybody else. Other than for fun, and because of diversity and things, which is awesome, and there's people that do that, but more people play for efficiency because they know that they can keep that hero the entire time, like Palpatine. Palpatine's heal is insane. Not only can he regenerate much more than the average person, I think he regenerates double than the average hero, but he has Chain Lightning that puts him to full life with 0 effort. That's why Palpatine is broken, on top of all the other broken things about him, is because you can get him down to a millimeter of life, and he fucks off, and he's super fast, and he's super evasive, and he gets it all back. And that's why Palpatine is such a good character, and such a broken opponent, because he's far too capable of staying alive. If his Chain Lightning worked differently, and you had to kill people to get a heal, Palpatine would not be nowhere near as threatening, because he'd have to take a risk to heal himself, instead of just being a bitch and firing at a heavy, and having it bounce off of 3 other dudes. Like, there are ways to balance Palpatine by fixing his lightning and fixing his healing that makes him a legitimate hero that's nowhere near as broken. But I don't know if they're going to do that. So it leads us to this discussion of, should every character and every hero have a healing card? I don't think they should. And you might be thinking, well, Chris, you seem to be making an argument that they should, and it sounds like it, doesn't it? Well, here's my thinking, right? I think every hero should have that by default. I know this might sound quite controversial. I believe it's similar to what was in the first game, right? But I never played it, so I don't know, guys. I'm completely ignorant. I think every hero should heal when they kill a trooper by like 20 HP, and should heal by 50 or 60 when they kill a hero. I think that's what everybody should have. So every hero, if played correctly and played lethally, can have a survivability rating of somebody like Leia. And I think that we would 100% make the heroes feel better than they already do, because let's face it, a lot of the heroes are so squishy they don't feel like heroes. There's only a few that feel amazing to play, and everybody rushes to them and doesn't play anybody else. But not only will it make heroes feel great and give everybody viability, but it will open up choices for more creativity with star cards. How many people do you know that run the same setup on Leia? How many people do you know that run the same setup on Bosk, run the same setup on every other character that can heal? If a character has a healing card, the smart players use it, and they use it because you have to. That's the way you stay alive, that's how you make those characters great. But it takes off 1/3 of your creativity, so you can't play some kind of customised, really interesting build of Lando, or a really interesting build of Bosk, because there's cards that are infinitely better than other cards. And I feel like if we get rid of this healing card, and we give everybody this healing, as long as you moderate it so every hero feels viable, it could be awesome. And it would enable us to actually have builds and actually have different characters and different heroes and different specialities. But it's such an intricate balance, guys, and that's why it's difficult. You don't just give fucking Darth Maul 20 bloody regeneration for killing troopers and 50 for killing, for killing other heroes, because Darth Maul wrecks people. Darth Maul just dashes into a corridor and kills 6 people. He'd be unkillable. It'd be like giving Darth Maul a block. How many people did you hear at the beginning of this game that were complaining that Darth Maul couldn't block because they never dodged and they never jumped and they never played how he was supposed to be played, which is hit and run incredibly aggressively but knowing when to defend? That's why we have to be careful. Like, can you imagine Chewbacca with too good of a healing ability? Chewbacca, when he uses his overload, can smash almost every trooper in one hit. You can kill 5 to 6 people at a choke point before they've even seen you were there. Chewie's another one would have to be regulated in such a way that it makes more sense. And you'd have to change the healing parameter for just how capable the people are. Like the secondary fire that Leia has. The secondary fire on a big map like Crate or Hoth is the reason why most Leias never die. Leia is just too hard to kill and she heals so quickly because she can just aimbot you. Bosk. The reason Bosk is so great is because he doesn't have decaying health. His health goes back to max regardless as long as you get away with a sliver of life. And that's not even mentioning he has a grenade that heals him. Nobody else has things like this. Bosk is rather unique, but Bosk doesn't quite have the damage dealing that a lot of other characters do unless we're talking about his grenade launcher from up close. Bosk's gun can be quite tricky to use thanks to its reticle. And he is one of those characters that if you get stuck or if you get flashbanged, you're dead. There are a lot of characters where that doesn't happen, but Bosk is one of those that does, so they would have to go into every single character with an idea of how they play, and I feel like that's the most difficult aspect of the game, because let's face it, I don't really think DICE understands their game as well as I would like them to, and I know that that doesn't sound very nice of me to say, but it's true. For them to nerf the blurg in the way that they nerfed it tells me that they never used it. They didn't use it correctly, they used it in a suboptimal build. The blurg is still absolutely incredible, and I have no idea why they would have left it the way they did, because I feel like that gun is still far too strong. I'm happy for the people that like the blurg, but if you think the blurg is in some ways nowhere near as good as it once was, it's just not true. The only reason that it's even remotely different is its distance now. At a distance, the blurg doesn't do what it did before, which is a good thing, but up close, you can always tell when you get shot by a blurg, because unless the person makes a mistake, you will die. It is very difficult to beat it. It's such a strong gun. A lot of people now are seeing that the SC-44 is a very good gun because it can kill you really quickly. It is a really good gun, and it does kill you really quickly. But the problem with the SC-44 is the only reason that people are noticing that it's so strong is because of the headshots and because of how fast you can fire it. That gun does not overheat. That's probably a problem. I think it should shoot for about half of the time that it does, and it would be much more balanced. But the reason it kills you so quickly, guys, is because of the headshots. If you get headshots with that gun, you drop in seconds. Absolute seconds. But DICE didn't do anything about it. DICE left it as it was, which is amazing for people that like using it, but it's one of those guns that's potentially a little bit too strong. And there's a lot of things in this game that they changed that there was no reason to change. Why the hell did they buff Palpatine? Did they buff him because he was bad in Heroes vs. Villains? Well, guess what? You made him a god in Galactic Assault. Look at Chewbacca. Chewbacca is a character in Galactic Assault who gets wrecked pretty quickly because everything makes him bleed and he doesn't have any way of getting his HP back. Unless you have a Yoda or a bunch of officers buffing you, you're going to have a tough time with Chewie if you're continually getting in gunfights and taking enough damage to degrade your life. But if you use him correctly, Chewie can fucking kill anything. Chewie could kill that AT-ST, Lando can't. I have to run away like a bitch. If I was Chewie, I'd use Overload and I would wreck that thing, because it cannot put up with the damage output that Chewie can do. And we're not even talking about that grenade. If Chewie chucks that grenade at your feet, you better have somebody around you helping you out or you're dead. And you know why? Because I used Chewie today for about 5 times, and it's exactly what I did. I killed 5 heroes. I've never killed 5 heroes with any other hero than probably Palpatine. Chewie is ridiculous in 1v1 hero fights if you can grenade them. And a lot of people don't seem to realise, and I understand why not, because a lot of the times when you spawn isn't as Chewie, you bump into a tank, you bump into a starfighter, and they melt you. And the tanks have been tweaked quite a lot, which is nice. They've made the tanks a lot less bullshit, but the starfighters don't seem to have been touched at all. This is bad news, by the way. This is real bad news. Defuse him, dude. Defuse him, Chris. What are you doing, you noob? Hey, he died. That was a terrible Palpatine. You don't see that often. Well, you do, but you don't, if you get what I mean. So the mistake I made there for Lando players who are looking at Lando and wanting to pick him up, Lando's right ability is he throws a Game Boy down, he throws like a fucking Beyblade, and if you press detonate on it, it will shock people. And when you shock them, they can't move, and then you can just hit them in the face like everybody's favourite Bukkake news presenter. And if you do that, they're gonna die. And I could have done that to Palpatine, but luckily enough, we managed to kill him, even though I kind of choked. And the reason I choked is because I do not move or act naturally with Lando yet, because he's not my guy. But every time I get him, I'm getting a little bit better, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable, and I'm using him a lot more effectively. Right now I'm in trouble because that door won't open and there's a ton of people around me, but thanks to Rey, I can see just the trouble that I'm in, and I can get out of there. So I drop down onto the bottom, start popping some fire over there, using him, trying to get into range to use his sharp shot because it's such a good ability. There's 4 people. I didn't get anybody because the geometry was in the way, but you can see how that could be really good, right? Having the stupid, it's high noon, McCready nonsense in this game. Look at my fantastic aim, boys. If you're wondering why my aim is sporadically good and sporadically bad, I don't play with aim assist. Aim assist on this game is very good at magnetising your reticle on people's bodies. It can be very good at getting headshots, whereas my reticle doesn't get magnetised at all, so I wave it around like a judgmental finger. Sometimes it's just as lethal as a judgmental finger, but other times it's quite good. Look at that, by the way. You can use sharp shot when you're blinded, you can use it in smoke. It's such a good ability. But I think this is one of the strengths of Lando as well. Lando can be very good on objectives because not only does he have a stun, but he also has aimbot. So if you use it correctly, you can do a lot of damage. We've got Darth Vader up on the left balcony. This is a really good game, this, because it's competitive. We have a... Oh, wow. They've got a Phasma. She didn't last long, but that's because she fucking sucks. But it's nice to see him pushing the objective with her. People on the balconies. Look at how powerful Rey is in this situation. I can see every threat all around me. I see those Death Troopers stalking the balcony. I see the Palpatine up on the balcony as well. There's a Kylo Ren. We've got a Wookiee warrior shooting at him. I'm moving forward as Lando, trying to be a little bit more aggressive. And the reason I'm doing this, guys, is because I know that I've got that little bit of a buff, which is helping me out. And when you've got HP in this game, you might as well use it, right? Look at that. Crazy. If I'd have known what I was doing, if I'd have known what I know now during this match, I could have probably got 50 kills with this character. This is me trying to stun the Emperor and I didn't do it. I don't know how I didn't do it, but I got lucky and he wasn't a very good Emperor. But there you go, guys. We got some Lando content on the channel. I think he's awesome. You're going to see much more of him when I learn how to use him. 38 and 2. Thank you for watching. You take care now.